even last second put on our zap specifically to tell the next harbor master that we're there for donations.
Oh, yeah.
And pending authorization from their side.
Okay.
That's what we put. So.
Perfect. And we're off.
And we're off.
Last video I explored Havana by bicycle, and I showed you some of the artwork of the island by our friend Oscar. In this video I want to speak about the challenging reality of cruising in Cuba. You'll notice in this video that we took a new crew member, Jack, along with us. Another one of the castaways from the demasted catamaran. So we did all these little amount of miles all the way to Havana, upwind. And finally, we get to enjoy the downwind run. It's not easy to sail in Cuba compared to some other Caribbean countries. The island is very large. We've covered hundreds of nautical miles while sailing, but that's just a fraction of the island's coastline. This island has hundreds of natural protected harbors, perfect for sailing vessels, perfect for trade, and places to hide from hurricanes. But you will notice that after we left Marina Hemingway, we did not make any stops on land. That is because Cuba has a particular boating history. In the boating lore of Cuba, there is the landing of the Granma. That's the highly regarded action of the revolutionary fighters when they traveled from Mexico to Cuba aboard a relatively small boat in 1956. There's also the attempted invasion of the Bay of Pigs in 1961. There are historical attacks by boat and by air, and there were desperate attempts by hungry Cubans putting their lives in danger to travel off the island by sea. Recently, there was an attempted infiltration by American passport holders with a motorboat full of weapons. The island has a history and a present-day predicament. That means there are special laws in Cuba making it harder for sailors like us to disembark wherever we want. That's compared to tourists visiting by plane. If you arrive in Cuba by plane, you can travel to any town you want by road. Anywhere we travel by boat around the island, we must first check in with the local guarda at any established community or road. The guarda often does not allow foreigners to land because technically, most of those communities or roads accessible by sea are not official ports of entry. So basically, as a sailor, you can expect not to be able to go to land other than a select few marinas or ports of entry. We rocked up to La Fe, we anchored, and the guarda came out to meet us right away. We requested to go to shore, and we told them we have donations on board to give, and because it's not an official port of entry, the guarda just told us no, which is basically expected. You also have to be prepared to be very social in Cuba. You know the word socialism? It means collective public ownership of land, of factories, of resources, owned by everyone here, not just one particular rich person or company. So that means that the guarda, representing the townsfolk, gets to decide whether we get to go ashore and walk down the street, not a private landowner. So you have to be social, be friendly, because you can expect if you stop by a town that the guarda will probably come out to your boat just to hang out and to chat and to ask us, so who are we exactly? The harm to the sovereignty of this island nation and very real attacks over the last 67 years has caused a natural skepticism by the government, whose rules regard people arriving by boat as possible threats. The laws are set up to stop us from easily distributing items wherever and whenever we want. When I look at Cuba's history, the laws were obviously put in place because they asked, what if someone would come here to distribute weapons? What if somebody arrived on the shores here trying to bring down the social system? And I'm not saying that I love this skepticism. It is inconvenient for sailboat visitors such as ourselves. Just an additional note on the subject. At the same time, we are checked in legally to Cuba. So just as it was many years ago when this cruising guide was first published, we do think it's important for us cruisers to insist in as many places as possible to go to land to help normalize this should-be friendly relationship between cruisers and the authorities here. You can see that this is an isolation trap. Now the island is experiencing fuel shortages, but these are the laws of this sovereign nation, and we did our best to respect them. We saw wildfires burning on shore some evenings. We assumed fire crews wouldn't easily be able to get out to those wildfires. Normal, everyday people in Cuba need help, and the laws here are not compatible with us randomly showing up and dumping items wherever we want. So again, very inconvenient for sailors such as us, but we are just visitors, we are just guests. We don't vote in the local elections on the island. We don't get to make decisions about government here. Despite the attacks by the American government, and despite the obstacles put in place by the Cuban government itself, we have been amazed by the drive of Cuban people to help themselves in any case. We were inundated with fish and lobster, as usual, as the fishermen.
How did you catch this? There's no spear yet.
We're having no trouble eating on this boat. Keeping well fed.
Wow, dude.
Cuba has been a place where I've been able to witness true mutual aid. That means helping those who are most clearly in need, without question, without hesitation. So yes, rest assured there is terrible bureaucracy here in Cuba. Traditional media likes to basically muddy up the waters and make everyone confused, to make it seem perhaps like trying to help people is not worth it, but coming here has been worth it. We have confirmed while visiting here that this really is the island of resourcefulness and ingenuity. If there is a will, there is a way. So stick around for upcoming videos where we will show you some of the awesome mutual aid that Cubans are practicing themselves. You will not want to miss it. Thank you for watching. This is Choco Spot. This is the usual thing happening today.
What?
The usual thing happening today.
Ooh, mutton, mutton, mutton. We got ourselves mutton today, mutton tomorrow. There's mutton around here, huh?
You want me to pull in the other line, or is it too
No,
late?
it's okay. He's already.
Ooh, he's a little bit.
I can't tell how he's stuck on it. Ah, he's done a full circle around it. So.
Let me know if it's easier for me to pull it in.
No, it's okay. I'll just put it in by hand. And this is half the size of the one that got away.
Oh shit.
Nice fish. At Cabo San Antonio, we briefly met one other sailboat, and they promptly motored on ahead of us. This was the beginning of a trend. Although we packed as much diesel as we could possibly carry, we were already thinking about the upwind slog ahead of us, and we worried about running out. The only thing that we didn't need to worry about was running out of fresh fish to eat.
Yellowtail snappers.
Woo! Nice fish. And dolphins. We always meet dolphins. These were the little spinning kind. Jack got into the water to hang off our swim ladder and meet with them. But you'll be able to see them. The water is very clear. No, they're at the front. They're all hanging out slowly at the front. We ran out of wind just before arriving at Punta Gorda. Our friends on the catamaran had arrived several hours before us. The anchorage felt wide open and pretty vulnerable, but the swell was surprisingly slight, so we rested well. The color of the water was becoming more and more beautiful. It was time to take a peek at what was going on underneath us. Perhaps we could take a look at what was beneath those mooring balls. We had another extra passenger with us, one remora. There is one large band of sand between two reefs where we anchored, and as I checked the anchor, I could see that we managed to drop it exactly in the right spot in about 7 meters of water. The drop-off was expansive, and I managed to catch a glimpse of one little shark. And leaving the next morning, there was a pretty definitive sign of larger sharks, too.
Got him?
I got him, yeah. So I did see a shark. That's why I was making a run for it.
Wow.
Well, it's still better than nothing.
Is that half of one?
3/4 of wahoo, yeah?
Ooh, poor thing.
Boy.
First section. Oof.
This was our weather window to get around the corner. We pressure cooked wahoo for Choco. Robbie made some perfect cuts for us. And we salted strips for the long term.
A grain of sand traveling along.
Arriving at the islands before Isla de la Juventud, it truly looked like we were in paradise. Sadly, on this passage, we lost one solar cooker, another GoSun Sport lost to the sea, but without any chance of procuring more propane, we continued to use the large one as much as possible. It was in fact paradise, only we had to worry about all our fuel running out without any chance of getting more. There was no chance of finding fresh fruits and vegetables in this area. There was no chance of getting more fresh water anywhere nearby. All we have in our fruits and vegetables, one piece of surviving cabbage. And then there was this little problem.
Dude, you should see how many mosquitoes are in the window here, man. If we didn't have a way to look at that.
Oh shit. It's like the zombies outside the building.
Yeah.